My daughter called me at midnight. I am getting married tomorrow morning. You don't have to come. Just send $15,000 as support. But I demanded she send me the details of what she wanted so that I could pay directly. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me quickly thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to Sam Addison from New York. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's go deeper into the story. I was halfway through brushing my teeth when my phone lit up on the counter. Midnight sharp. I didn't recognize the number at first, but something about the area code gave me pause. Northern California. My stomach clenched the way it always did when a late call came in. I'd learned through hard experience that midnight calls rarely bring good news. I wiped my mouth, picked up the phone, and answered with a gruff, "Hello." "Dad?" she said, and the sound of her voice twisted my gut. It was my daughter, Elena. I hadn't heard from her in months. Not since that last argument about her mother, my ex-wife, and how I had emotionally abandoned them both. Her words, not mine. She had a gift for rewriting history. But still, my heart leapt a little hearing her voice. That stupid, persistent part of me, the one that still remembered the little girl in the ladybug Halloween costume, thought maybe she was calling to reconnect. Maybe she wanted me at her wedding after all. "Hey, sweetheart," I said slowly, unsure of the terrain. "I'm getting married tomorrow morning," she said, her tone flat, no excitement, no warmth. "You don't have to come. Just send $15,000. I need support." It felt like someone had thrown a brick into my chest. I didn't know what to react to first. The news that she was getting married in mere hours, the implication that I wasn't wanted there, or the gall of asking for $15,000 like it was a casual favor. She didn't ask how I was. Didn't even say she missed me. Just straight to business. I gripped the sink with my free hand, taking a breath. "You're getting married tomorrow, and this is the first I'm hearing of it?" I asked, my voice steady but cold. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" "I didn't think you'd support it," she replied. "I don't have time for a lecture, Dad. I just need the money. I know you can afford it." It wasn't what she said, it was how she said it. Like I was a bank account with a beard. I swallowed hard. I could afford it, yes. Years of saving, of denying myself things I wanted so I could provide for her, had left me in a stable place. But something about the way she dismissed the emotional gravity of the moment, it knocked the wind out of me. There was no joy in her voice. No gratitude. Just entitlement. "I'll help," I said slowly. "But I need details. Vendor names. What the money's for. I'll pay them directly." There was a pause. Just a few seconds too long. Then she said, "Fine. I'll send it all to your email. Just don't take forever, okay? We're on a tight deadline." The call ended abruptly. "No, I love you. Not even a thanks." I stared at my phone for a long while, feeling a heaviness in my chest that I couldn't quite name. Was it sadness? Anger? Embarrassment? All three, maybe. I'd raised this girl. Fed her, clothed her, paid for private school when I could barely cover rent. I was the one who worked double shifts after the divorce just to make Christmas feel normal. And now I was an ATM she dialed in the dark. Still, I waited for the email. When it came an hour later, I sat in my study and opened it carefully. It was a brief message with 3 vendor invoices attached, a florist, a photographer, and a wedding venue. The documents looked official, logos, fake contact info, even due dates. But my gut was already screaming. Something didn't feel right. The florist's address was a burned-out warehouse I'd once passed on a business trip. The venue didn't have a single online presence. The phone numbers bounced. I dug deeper, calling a few friends in the area, checking business registries. Nothing. These vendors didn't exist. That's when it hit me. She made them up. My own daughter had fabricated vendors to try and steal from me. I sat in the dark, my laptop screen glowing, the receipts open like silent confessions. It wasn't even about the money, not really. I'd given her more than that over the years. Paid for her freshman year tuition before she dropped out, helped her with rent more than once. But this was calculated. She knew I'd want to help. She banked on my guilt. She counted on me being soft. I closed the laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere between the drywall and the wood beams, I swear I could hear my past self screaming, "Wake up." This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And if I gave in now, I'd be teaching her that manipulation worked, that betrayal came with a payout. Still, I wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed to be sure. So I ran a little scam of my own. The next morning, I created a set of fake wire receipts, professional looking, down to the reference numbers and bank logos. I sent them to her with a calm message. All paid. Congratulations. I hope it's a beautiful day. My hands didn't even shake when I pressed send. I was calm. Too calm. That scared me a little. 2 days passed. Then came the call. "Elena," I said, answering on the second ring. "You lied," she spat. "You didn't pay anyone." I checked. None of the payments went through. What kind of father does that? "You left me hanging on my wedding day." I didn't even blink. "You mean the wedding you didn't invite me to? The one you tried to fund with fake vendors?" There was silence. Then, "You're crazy. You're just bitter because mom left you. Don't twist this." I opened the folder I had prepared, screenshots of the fake invoices, metadata showing the files were created on her laptop. The tracking code that showed she'd opened my receipts but never followed up with any vendors. I emailed it all to her while we were on the phone. "Check your inbox," I said flatly. "Dad, don't come closer to me again. You knew what you were doing. I'm done letting people mistake my kindness for stupidity. I'm done." And then I hung up. That was the last time I heard her voice. I barely slept that night. Even after hanging up, even after sending her the evidence, my mind replayed every minute of that phone call like a courtroom cross-examination. The kind where you know you're telling the truth, but somehow the person across from you keeps trying to make you doubt yourself. I paced the length of my living room until the sun rose, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house. It had been years since I'd felt that particular kind of hurt. The kind that feels personal, invasive, like someone's broken into your soul and rearranged the furniture without asking. I wanted to believe there had been a mistake. Maybe she was desperate. Maybe she had gotten in over her head with the wedding and didn't know how to ask for help honestly. But the facts wouldn't bend. I kept circling back to the same question. What kind of daughter does this to her father? And worse, what kind of father had I been that she thought she could? I didn't tell anyone about it at first. Not my fiancé, not my sister, not even Marcus, my closest friend since college. I just carried it around like a secret injury, a limp I didn't want anyone to notice. I told myself I needed time to process, but the truth was simpler. I was ashamed. Ashamed I hadn't seen it coming. Ashamed I'd raised someone who would do something like this. Ashamed that I still loved her, even after what she'd done. By noon the next day, my inbox pinged again. It was her. No apology, no acknowledgement. Just 3 short sentences. "I'm not giving up. I needed that money. If you're going to play games, fine, I can play too." She attached the same invoices, this time updated with slightly different file names, as if I wouldn't notice. The names were tweaked: Sierra Floral instead of Sierra Blooms, Green River Events instead of Green River Hall. But the addresses and phone numbers were still fake. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She had doubled down. She thought I was stupid enough not to verify. Or worse, she thought I wanted an excuse to give in. And maybe, if I'm honest, part of me did. Part of me wanted to just throw the money her way, tell myself it was a one-time thing, and be done with it. But then what? What would that teach her? So I decided to dig deeper. I took a few hours to cross-reference every vendor name with California's state business registry. Nothing. I ran the phone numbers through a reverse lookup tool. Burner apps and disconnected lines. The addresses were even more absurd this time. One was a laundromat. Another didn't exist on GPS. I called a few local businesses pretending to be a groom, asking if they had weddings booked under my daughter's name. Each one told me no. I was holding in my hand a digital trail of her lie, and the deeper I went, the colder I felt. I finally forwarded everything to a trusted contact, Paula, an old friend of mine who worked in IT security. She confirmed what I already suspected. The invoices were created on the same device. The metadata embedded in the PDF files linked back to an IP address I recognized, her apartment complexes. She hadn't even tried to cover her tracks. That was the part that stung the most. She wasn't just deceiving me. She assumed I'd be too dumb, too emotional, or too eager to earn her love to even look. That evening, I sat across from my fiancée, Olivia, at the dinner table. I hadn't planned to tell her, but it came out between bites of roasted chicken and silence. "Elena tried to scam me," I said softly. She looked up from her plate, fork frozen midair. "What?" I exhaled, my voice barely holding steady. "She made up wedding vendors. Fake invoices. Asked for 15 grand. I almost paid it without checking." Olivia didn't say anything at first, just reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her eyes, always soft, had a flash of steel behind them. "You didn't deserve that," she said simply. I felt something loosen in my chest. I just don't understand how she got here. I tried so hard to protect her from this, from becoming this. "You can't protect someone from choices they want to make," Olivia said. "You gave her love, money, patience. She chose deception." I nodded, but it still felt like failure. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a voicemail. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew the voice immediately. She sounded different, tired, almost slurring. Maybe she'd had a few drinks. Maybe it was just the adrenaline wearing off. But her words were sharp. "I can't believe you're doing this to me. I'm your daughter. You've always said you'd be there for me, no matter what. Now you're trying to make me look like a criminal? I'll tell everyone. I'll tell Mom. I'll tell the family. You'll regret this." She ended it with a bitter laugh. It wasn't the voice of a hurt child. It was the voice of someone who had been told no for the first time in too long. I played it twice, then a third time. Then I saved it, added it to a folder with the emails, the screenshots, the PDFs, and the IP trace report. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I knew what was coming. She was going to spin this. She was going to weaponize the story and turn me into the villain. And this time, I wasn't going to let her. I walked into my office and stared at the only framed photo of us on the shelf. It was from a trip to Yosemite. She was 10, grinning under a too-big beanie, standing in front of the falls. I looked happy in the picture. So did she. That was before the divorce, before everything broke and hardened. I took the frame down, opened the back, and slid the photo into a drawer. The house was too quiet the next morning, and I hated how normal everything felt. Birds chirped outside like they hadn't heard the voicemail. The coffee machine bubbled and steamed as if it didn't know my daughter just threatened to destroy me. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the mug in my hand, realizing I hadn't even taken a sip. The nerves in my forearms were still twitching, a subtle reminder that rage, even quiet rage, still takes a toll on the body. I wanted to believe this would all blow over, that she'd wake up ashamed of what she'd done. But in my heart, I knew better. Elena didn't make mistakes. She made decisions. Bold, calculated ones. Just like her mother. When my ex-wife first walked out, Elena was only 14. She chose to stay with her mother then. Claimed it was because her school was closer, her friends were in that district, and I didn't have enough space at my apartment. I didn't fight her. I didn't want to be the dad who dragged his daughter back and forth in a tug of war. But that silence, that unwillingness to push back, set the tone for everything that followed. From that day on, she learned that love came with conditions and manipulation got results. I gave her everything I could anyway, hoping she'd come back to me on her own. She didn't. And now, she was threatening to go to the police. I opened my laptop and looked at the voicemail file again. I saved it to 3 different drives: cloud, external, USB. I labeled the folder Safeguards. Then I sat down and wrote a statement. Not to her, to the world. A concise timeline of events with attachments, dates, receipts, screenshots. I wasn't going to publish it. I wasn't even sure I'd ever need it. But I needed to be ready. Because if there's one thing divorce taught me, it's that silence is interpreted as guilt. And I'd spent too many years letting other people tell my story. Mid-morning, I called Marcus. "I need a gut check," I told him. "What's up?" he asked, voice low and steady. He was the kind of friend who didn't overreact. He just listened, paused, and spoke with intention. We'd been roommates back in college. He'd seen me through every major loss in my life. I told him everything: the wedding, the invoices, the fake vendors, the voicemail. There was a long pause on the other end. Then he said, "Jesus, man, That's not just a screw-up. That's fraud. I know. You planning to press charges? I hadn't even considered it until he said it. I winced at the idea. She's still my daughter. He sighed. Yeah, but she's also an adult. And if she follows through with her threat, you might not get a say. She could file something bogus and force you to defend yourself. That landed like a hammer. I'd been trying so hard not to escalate things, but maybe I was playing the wrong game. Maybe she already had the matches in hand, and I was just standing there hoping she wouldn't strike. Marcus cleared his throat, breaking the silence. You should send her something, he said. Not money, not an apology, just a mirror. Let her see exactly what she did. I knew what he meant before he finished the sentence. So I drafted an email. Cold, precise, unapologetic. I attached every shred of proof. The fake invoices with altered metadata, the vendor cross-checks, the voicemail file, the IP trace, and a screenshot of a message she once sent me years ago thanking me for always being there and never asking for anything back. I included a single line beneath the attachments. You tried to exploit the one person who never turned his back on you. I see that now. You're not welcome in my life anymore. Do not contact me again. I hit send. 10 minutes later, she called. I let it ring. Then the texts started pouring in. You're a monster. I needed help. You're turning your back on your own blood. You were supposed to be the better parent. Each message chipped away at the little hope I had left that this was just panic or immaturity. She wasn't sorry. She was furious that her plan hadn't worked. There was no remorse, just venom. And that's when the grief hit me hardest. Not because I lost her, but because I'd been holding on to a version of her that didn't exist anymore. Maybe hadn't for years. That night, Olivia and I sat on the couch, my head in her lap, while she combed her fingers through my hair. I was emotionally exhausted. She didn't ask for an update. She didn't push me to talk. She just let me feel the weight of everything I'd carried for too long. I keep wondering if I messed her up somehow. I said finally, voice cracking. You didn't mess her up, Olivia said. You protected her. You showed up. She made her choices. You don't owe her your sanity for the rest of your life. But she's my daughter. She was your daughter. The one who needed you. But the woman she is now? She's made it clear who she wants to be. I let that settle. It sounded harsh, but it was true. If she were anyone else, a friend, a coworker, I would have cut ties already. But because she came from me, I kept making excuses. I kept watering a dead plant because it used to be beautiful. Around midnight, I heard a knock on the door. My whole body went cold. Olivia looked at me, wide-eyed. I stood slowly, walked to the door, and checked the peephole. No one was there. Just an envelope on the ground. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten note. You'll regret this. Everyone will know who you really are. No name, no signature, but I knew the handwriting. She had come to my house. I stared at the note in my hand long after the ink had dried, my thumb tracing the indentation where the pen had pressed too hard, furious, shaky strokes. There was no mistaking the handwriting. I'd seen it on birthday cards, hastily scribbled grocery lists, and the notes she used to leave on the fridge when she was a teenager coming in late. Home safe. Don't worry. Back then, those words meant something. But now, all they stirred in me was a sharp twist of dread. I held the envelope like it was radioactive, a final, physical confirmation that the situation had gone from digital deception to something disturbingly real. She had come to my house. She stood at my front door, angry enough to threaten me in her own handwriting and walk away. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the armchair by the front window with a baseball bat in my lap and the porch light off. Not because I thought she'd come back, but because I needed to believe that if she did, I wouldn't freeze. I needed to feel like I had some control. Olivia tried to talk me into going to bed, but she didn't push. She made a pot of tea, set a mug beside me, and kissed my forehead before going upstairs. Even in silence, she had a way of grounding me, like a lighthouse quietly reminding the ship that it didn't have to drift forever. By morning, I made a decision. I called a locksmith first. Then I emailed a family lawyer I knew from my years in finance. I explained everything, calmly, methodically. I wasn't pressing charges, but I wanted to document the incident, build a paper trail. Just in case. She hadn't just threatened me with legal trouble. She'd now shown up uninvited, dropped a note at my home, and implied retaliation. And I knew her well enough to know this was only the beginning. Next, I called my sister. Renee had always been Elena's godmother, the cool aunt with an open door and a full snack cabinet. When things between Elena and me got tense, she was the one who often smoothed it over. But I hadn't told her any of this. Not until now. Wait, she did what? Renee's voice cracked over the line. She created fake vendors and tried to scam you? Are you serious? I could hear her pacing through her kitchen, the echo of hardwood under fast-moving feet. She wasn't quiet about her emotions. One of the things I used to find exhausting, but now, God, it felt like relief. Somebody was finally reacting the way I couldn't allow myself to. I didn't want to dump it on you, I said, voice hoarse. But she threatened to go public. I needed someone in the family to know the truth in case she spins it. There was a pause. Then, softly, she already tried. I blinked. What? She called me 2 days ago. Said you refused to support her. Told her she wasn't your daughter anymore. Said you laughed at her when she asked for help. I swallowed hard. And you believed her? No, Renee said immediately. Not for a second. But I didn't realize how far she'd gone. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my eyes. The weight of betrayal wasn't just in her lie. It was in how far she was willing to push it. How many people she was willing to recruit into her narrative. Renee sighed. She asked me for money too, you know. Told me you were being cruel. I almost wired her $2,000. That stopped me cold. Did you? No. Something felt off. I told her I'd think about it and call her back. I didn't. Guess my gut was right. It wasn't just about me anymore. She had been casting a net, seeing who'd bite. I thought I was the main target, but it turned out I was just the first one she called. That realization broke something loose in me. This wasn't desperation, it was a pattern. She was going full con artist, and I'd been the warm-up act. That afternoon, the fallout began. I got a call from my cousin Tom, then another from my uncle. Each one started the same way. I heard there was some drama with Elena. Then the soft accusation under the concern. You didn't really abandon her before her wedding, did you? I could hear it in their voices, that thin layer of judgment, the disbelief that I could be the bad guy. For years, I'd been the quiet one, the provider, the background character in our family's dysfunction. Now suddenly I was being recast as the villain in a story I hadn't even agreed to star in. So I forwarded the receipts. All of them. To every person who called, I sent the evidence, the screenshots, the voicemail, the faked invoices. I didn't editorialize. I didn't beg for understanding. I just sent the truth and let it sit in their inboxes like a ticking clock. Some of them texted back. Apologies. Shock. One simply said, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Another asked, is she okay? I didn't know how to answer that. Was she okay? Was she sick? Or was this just who she'd become? I kept asking myself if something happened that I missed, some turning point where I failed her. But every time I traced the timeline, all I saw was grace extended over and over until it became a welcome mat for abuse. That night, Olivia found me in the garage, sitting in my truck with the engine off, radio playing soft jazz. I wasn't hiding, not really. I was just trying to feel something normal. Just a man in his car, keys in the ignition, pretending he could still drive away from it all. She climbed into the passenger seat and didn't say a word. Just sat with me. After a while, I spoke. I don't think I'm grieving her anymore. I think I'm grieving who I thought she was. Olivia nodded slowly. That's still grief. I turned toward her, eyes burning. What kind of person shows up to their father's house to drop a threat? What kind of daughter does that? The kind who's already decided love is a transaction, she said. You just stopped paying. And there it was. Elena didn't want a relationship. She wanted leverage. The moment I took that away, she turned the fire on me. So I called my lawyer back and had him draft a no-contact letter. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I finally understood something. Peace isn't passive. Sometimes it means shutting the door, even when the person on the other side is your own child. It's strange how normal life keeps moving while your insides collapse. The mailbox still fills with bills. The neighbor still waves from his lawn chair. The clerk at the grocery store still asks, "How's your day going?" Like the answer should be anything other than, "It feels like part of me died, but I'm still walking around pretending it didn't." I found myself smiling through those exchanges, offering polite nods and forced chuckles. But the truth was I was living in the aftermath of a personal earthquake, and everyone around me was sipping coffee as if the ground hadn't just split beneath my feet. Weeks passed. The no-contact letter was sent and acknowledged. Delivered via certified mail, it marked the first and only thing she hadn't challenged. No dramatic response. No angry voicemail. Just silence. At first, I welcomed it. Then I feared it. I checked my security cameras every night. Reviewed the footage. Nothing. Eventually, I stopped expecting her to come back, not with flowers or tears, but with more fuel and fire. She was gone. That should have felt like peace. Instead, it felt like mourning. The hardest part wasn't the absence, it was the memories that refused to leave with her. Everything reminded me of who she used to be. The photo albums I hadn't touched in years suddenly became landmines. I opened one just to see a picture of us at the beach, her feet in the water, my arms around her shoulders. She must have been 10. Her hair was pulled into a crooked ponytail, and she wore this ridiculous pair of purple sunglasses we'd picked out together. That day, she had called me her favorite person in the whole world. What changed? I'd asked myself that question more than any other. Was it the divorce? The distance I kept in those early years while I rebuilt my life? Or had something darker taken root, something I never saw? I wanted to believe I'd done my best. But doing your best doesn't guarantee the people you love will stay kind. Sometimes, love is fertilizer for resentment. Sometimes, the more you give, the more they feel entitled to take. I brought it up in therapy. I feel like I failed. I told Dr. Lynn, my therapist of 3 years. I raised a daughter who looked me in the eye and tried to rob me. That's not a blip in parenting. That's a breakdown. She leaned forward in her chair. It's not a failure to have boundaries, even with your children. Especially with your children. But I wasn't perfect, I said. There were years I wasn't as present as I should have been. After the divorce, I was surviving. Being imperfect doesn't make you responsible for her choices, she said. You're allowed to love someone and still say, what you did to me was wrong. Still, I replayed every missed recital, every skipped parent-teacher meeting. I remembered the times I was too tired to talk when she called. I remembered the Christmas when she cried because I got her the wrong headphones. She was 15, hormonal, dramatic, but maybe it mattered more than I thought. I wasn't trying to excuse her, but the guilt, the ancient, aching guilt, was relentless. One afternoon, I got a message from a former neighbor, Carla. She'd always been sweet, middle-aged, nosy in a friendly way. She'd watched Elena grow up and used to give her little gifts during the holidays. I ran into your daughter, she wrote. She said you disowned her. I hope you're okay. Just wanted you to know people are talking. That phrase stuck with me. People are talking. That was always Elena's power. She knew how to perform grief. She knew how to cry on cue, how to twist just enough truth to make you question what really happened. She didn't need to say I was abusive or cruel. All she had to do was imply I'd changed, that I'd become cold, that I had abandoned her. She knew most people wouldn't dig deeper, and part of me wanted to clear my name. But another part, the part that had grown stronger lately, just didn't care anymore. Let them talk. I'd lived too long trying to manage other people's perceptions. My ex-wife had trained me well. Always walk the line. Always look stable. Always explain yourself to death. But I was done doing PR for people who wouldn't offer me the same grace. Anyone who knew me, really knew me, already understood the truth. And anyone who didn't, their opinions weren't worth bleeding for. Olivia could tell I was changing. Not in the way I held my body, but in the way I held my past. I wasn't clinging to it anymore. You seem different, she said one night as we sat watching the rain through the bay window. Lighter. I let go of trying to fix it. I said. Fix what? Her. Us. All of it. She took my hand in hers. That's not giving up. That's healing. There was a knock at the door just then. My body tensed, but Olivia didn't flinch. It was Marcus. He came in without being asked. He always did, and handed me an envelope. This came to my office, he said. Addressed to you. No return address. You want me to open it? I nodded. He pulled out a single sheet of paper. Typed. Short. I'm sorry for how things went. I don't know what I expected. Maybe I was just desperate. I won't bother you again. I just wanted you to know, I do regret it. And I miss you. No signature. but I knew it was her. I didn't cry. I didn't call. I didn't frame it as some breakthrough. I just placed it in the drawer where the rest of the evidence lived. Not because I planned to use it, but because it deserved to be kept alongside everything else. The lie, the truth, the damage, the glimpse of remorse. A part of me softened, but not enough to reopen the door. She said she missed me. I believed her, but I also believed she'd do it again. I never told her she was dead to me. I never screamed, never threatened, never begged her to come back or stay away. That's the thing no one understands about this kind of betrayal. It doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quiet, calculated, dressed like necessity. And when you cut someone off not out of rage, but out of survival, the world doesn't always know how to process that. They expect a dramatic fight, a final act. But in the end, all I wanted was quiet. All I needed was peace. 3 months passed. The wedding she had told me about so coldly, the one I was never invited to, came and went. I only saw pictures because my cousin, the one who had originally believed her side, posted a few on social media with tags I hadn't blocked yet. There she was, in a simple dress, standing next to a man I didn't know, smiling like nothing had happened. The captions made no mention of me. No father, no walk down the aisle, no trace that I ever existed. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel angry about it. I felt relief. I showed the photos to Olivia that evening. She glanced at them once, then slid the phone back to me. "She looks like someone I don't know," she said. "She is," I replied. But I still stared a while longer, not at her face, but at her body language. She didn't look radiant or proud. She looked like someone playing a role. Maybe I was projecting, or maybe I just knew her well enough to read what other people couldn't see. Either way, I didn't reach out. I didn't comment. I didn't send a gift. I let it pass like a train I once missed and no longer needed to catch. I focused on my own wedding instead. Olivia and I decided to elope. Just the two of us in a quiet corner of Maine, surrounded by pine trees and cool autumn air. No drama. No crowds. Just vows spoken at sunrise and laughter over coffee afterward. I didn't feel the need to announce it to the world. There was something sacred about doing it quietly, on our own terms. No family politics. No performance. Just two people choosing each other, with full knowledge of the pain they carried. At the little cabin where we stayed, there was no cell service. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the phantom tug of my phone. No emails. No texts. No digital shadow of a daughter who'd once been everything to me. Just silence. And in that silence, I finally heard myself again. I thought about writing Elena a letter, just one page, no accusations, no anger. Something that said, "I still love you, but I love myself too now." I even drafted it in my notebook, stared at it for an hour, then tore it out and threw it into the fire. It burned quick, curling into black flakes before the words even had a chance to settle. That was the gesture I needed, not to her, but to myself. Letting go doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes, it means choosing not to explain anymore. When we got home, the house felt different. Not haunted, lighter. I packed up the last of Elena's childhood things from the guest room. Not because I wanted to erase her, but because I didn't need to keep holding space for someone who didn't want to return. I boxed up old school trophies, photos, letters. I kept one. The picture of us at Yosemite, tucked in a small drawer in my office. That version of her, that little girl, was real once. I chose to remember her. The following week, I ran into Paula at a coffee shop, the same IT friend who had helped me trace the scam. She asked how things had turned out. I gave her the short version. She hasn't contacted me since the no-contact letter. That's been a blessing. Paula raised an eyebrow. "You think she's done?" "I think I'm done," I said. That was the difference. It didn't matter if she came back. What mattered was that I no longer lived on the edge, waiting for it. That slow withdrawal, the detox from dysfunction, was harder than I ever expected. But day by day, it got easier. I found myself laughing more, cooking again, playing music at night without worrying what my phone was doing. Peace, I realized, isn't something you stumble into. You have to build it, brick by brick, boundary by boundary, and you have to protect it. One day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I stared at it for a long moment before letting it go to voicemail. The message was short. Hi, it's me. I just wanted to say, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm working on myself. I'm not asking for anything. Just, I hope you're okay. I saved the message, but I didn't respond. It wasn't cruel. It was clarity. I wished her healing. I just didn't want to be the casualty of it. I spent too many years trying to be the kind of father who absorbed everything, who stayed silent when I was hurting, who paid the price for other people's mistakes. But that man is gone now. In his place stands someone older, a little scarred, but finally free. Elena made her choice, and I made mine. Have you ever had to cut ties with someone you never thought you'd lose? Someone you raised? Someone you'd give the world to? It's never easy, but sometimes protecting your peace means choosing yourself, even when it breaks your heart. If you've faced a betrayal like this, share your story below. Let others know they're not alone. And if you're struggling with guilt after setting boundaries, remember, self-respect isn't cruelty, it's clarity. See you soon in the next story.